We all know how last season went coming out of the All-Star break. In your assessment, how do you see the rest of the season playing out, and how can the team avoid falling in the standings?
The way to avoid falling in the standings is by staying healthy. That's one of the things that really killed the Cavs last year. Jared Allen went down early after the break. Darius Garland was coming through the break and not in good health. Karis LeVert got hurt in the first practice. So it's a lot of their fall last year was based off of injuries, just accumulation of everything. And I think that kind of gets lost when it was like a lot of the narrative now is like, oh, they were a young team and they just couldn't handle the pressure. And it's like, I think they were a good team. They just couldn't stay healthy. And when you don't have Jared Allen, they were playing Moses Brown like significant minutes. And it's, going from Moses Brown going from Jared Allen to Moses Brown is not really good. And they were playing Brandon Goodwin a ton of minutes. They had some Point Jetty minutes. That's
Point Jetty.
Yeah, and that's why they fell down the standings. It wasn't like an experience.
Moses Brown is a free agent again, so.
Oh.
Yeah,
grab him up.
I would be okay with them grabbing him up. There's just not a lot of good bigs out there. So
yeah.
He's not a good big, but he is a big.
He's a big.
Yeah.
He can fill a spot.
Right.
Obviously the injuries, Karis. I also think too, Isaac Okoro has clearly, he's not taking a leap, but he's taking a step in the right direction. So I think that a lot of these guys are clicking better, and it seems like Rubio is even clicking quicker than I even thought he would, coming off of such a devastating injury. And I'm curious, do you think that they might even move up in the standings? Do you think they'll finish fourth, or do you think that they should go even closer to second or third?
I think they should finish third. I don't think they really have a good chance at second. And I think finishing fourth would be a bit of a disappointment. The Sixers have a really tough schedule, and the Cavs have a really easy schedule. The Cavs schedule is kind of, the first three games, I think, are something to really keep an eye on. They go Denver, the Hawks, and then Toronto on Sunday. And Toronto's given them some issues this season. Denver's one of the best teams in the West and fully rested. And then the Hawks are a team that just fired their coach. So you never know what kind of team you're going to get from them. So if they can get through that little stretch there, things do get a lot easier. And the way the NBA schedule works is they like to backload the schedule with a lot of marquee games, and the Sixers are a marquee team, and their schedule is really backloaded. They will be going through their toughest part of the schedule coming up, and the Cavs are going through probably one of their easier parts of their schedule. So this is a team that's really set up to succeed and do well. Whether they can kind of remains an open question, with how are they going to respond to the Kevin Love thing? Can Danny Green get involved? Can they stay healthy? So there are questions there, but they really should finish third, and I'd be disappointed if they finished fourth or lower.
I was reading that apparently from the All-Star break on, we have the 27th most difficult record or schedule left to play the game. So we really shouldn't have the difficulty be part of the reason why we have any issues, why we have to go into the play-in again or miss the playoffs by the end of the year. So we talked at length over our entire stretch of our podcast with how injured they've been over the last 2.5 years. That even before they got Allen, they were very injury-riddled the year before that, when they probably should have played better, not to the expectation of now, obviously, but and then once they got Allen, they kind of fell off a cliff last year after the All-Star break. So
right,
that's certainly something that you can't say either way if it's going to happen. You just have to keep your fingers crossed. I just know as a kid, I don't remember there being a team that was riddled with so many injuries all the time. And especially with it being a sport that isn't as physical as it used to be. I just kind of wondered about that, often. But
Yeah, it's one of those things where every team, if one of their best players gets injured, they don't really have a lot of, they will fall down the standings. And the Cavs are built a little better than most in that they have four guys that they kind of can rely on. So it really hurts if one of the bigs get injured. Yes. But if one of Darius or Donovan gets injured, I think they can, hold their head above water. So it just, it's tough when you just hope that they stay healthy. And, fortunately they haven't had any like major injuries. It seems like Donovan Mitchell's on the other side of his groin injury that was really hindering him in January. We saw the last week of the regular season, he was really, back to playing 71-point game Donovan Mitchell. He's looking like that guy again, and not the guy that we saw, when they played New York and Miami, where he was just kind of settling for a bunch of outside shots and wasn't really, he didn't have that burst. Right. So, if they have him and they have the bigs and Darius Garland's playing some of the best basketball of his entire career, it's like, this is a really good team. Even though they have a lot of questions around the edges, this is a good team that has a really favorable part of their schedule. They don't have any games outside the Eastern time zone. Like they are in a prime position to move up the standings, and the Sixers are on the opposite side of that. They have a very tough schedule. So if everyone stays if everyone stays healthy, this is a team that can go on a run to end the season.
It's exciting.
Yeah, do you see something that we've noted in just their play? Obviously, the injuries. Do you see anyone on the bench kind of stepping up more? I know I've seen you kind of talk about how well Jetty has played at times. And obviously, we mentioned Wade, and the team just plays better when Wade gets at least 10 to 15 minutes a game. Even 20 is probably ideal. Do you, speaking of around the edges, do you expect or hope a certain player performs better just to kind of solidify getting into that third spot?
Yeah, it's always going to be tough when you talk about the rotation with like the wing rotation. Like Isaac Okoro's playing really good. He's playing decisive, which I think is more important than if he's hitting outside shots. If he's like making quick decisions, I do hope to see at some point like a 2 for 7, 2 for 8 game, which means that he's taking shots even if he's not making them, because sometimes when he starts to not make them, that's where we see it in the beginning of the season, where they swing it to him and then he just kind of holds and freezes, and that's really not what you want. You just want to see him keep making decisions and quick moves. But you never know, like, is this run gonna end? So that's something that you kind of be worried about. We've seen Karis LeVert is still trying to find his place with the team, so and then like Jetty Osman would be a lot. I think he's a really good fit with the team because he moves off ball better than any other wing that they have. He's a decent shooter, but he's not a great shooter, and the problem with Dean Wade is a good defender and a good shooter, but he doesn't shoot much, and he doesn't move a lot off ball. He doesn't shoot well enough to be like a Kevin Love, Channing Frye, where it's like, you can't leave him because he will make the shot. So that's where it's like, there's a lot of question marks there, and you just hope that some of them are playing well and that they're fitting in well. My hope would be, like, if Ricky Rubio is like the better version of Ricky Rubio that we've seen at times this year and we saw all of last year, that's a guy who can really just keep things moving when everyone isn't hitting their shots and when the wing rotation looks kind of wonky. He's somebody who can keep things going. I'd like to see him get more minutes with Mitchell and Garland. We've seen JB experiment with that some. They may have to go smaller now that they don't really have Kevin. Well, it's not that they don't really have Kevin Love. They actually don't have Kevin Love. So
no, he's not there, right. Jackson. Let it go. No. He's gone.
Yeah, so you're going to have to go smaller a lot more. If Dean Wade doesn't have it, that means we're going to go really small, and maybe it could be a team that plays up tempo. So I'm kind of interested to see how that all shakes out, how those bench minutes look without that traditional, like, we're going to go with a traditional 4 and we're going to keep one of Mobley and Allen out there. So that's something that I would keep an eye on.
Cool.
Thank you for listening to the Cavaliers Basketball Club podcast. Let's go Cavs!